All right, I think we're going. Welcome to another one of these. Hope you were doing swell this lovely Tuesday. Tuesday is what day it is. I'm still not quite used to being back on a normal work week schedule, despite being back for, I guess it's the second day. That's not really that much. But yeah, today not too terrible, not too shabby. As I mentioned, AGDQ running, so I get to watch some speed runs while I'm doing some work that I don't necessarily have to devote my entire attention to. I can go ahead and listen in onto some gameplay. I think I was watching River City Girls. That actually looks pretty cool. I wasn't sure about it. I wasn't a huge fan of how River City Ransom looked, but just seeing that gameplay, and it kind of reminded me a bit of oh gosh, what was it called? Phantom Breaker. I played that with a friend a couple of years ago. That was just kind of fun. When you see a side-scrolling beat 'em up, that's usually kind of that you actually think you'll enjoy. It's kind of fun to see that, and sometimes it just scratches the right itch. But yeah, okay, this is obviously a bit later than normal. Work went a little bit late, having a fairly late meeting there, and then had to do the Haikus Day stuff for Prismatic Planet. Got a new post out there. It's it's a good picture, good looking picture. A lot of the pictures we took while we were traveling to South Africa in 2018, those were all pretty darn good looking pictures. If I do say so myself, I enjoyed a lot of those. Got some good stuff to share. So yeah, check that out if that's stuff that you like. You like pictures from around the world, and a little bit of poetry to accompany that sensation experience, however you like to say. Yeah, then was getting my workout in because I needed to get back at that. Ate way too many sweets over the holiday, and I am afraid to check the scale. So we're just going to pretend we weigh way too much and try and get the diet back into something that isn't so reliant on sugar every other thing I consume. So hopefully that goes pretty well. And then had to watch a speed run. I was wanting to go ahead and check out. Hades bonus incentive was met, so they ran a 3-weapon run of Hades. So that was pretty cool to see. And here we are at this point, 8:14 p.m. Central Time. Fun. I'm actually not too sure what to talk about because all I really want to talk about is games again. So maybe we'll talk a little bit about some more games today, just because all the speedrunning and the games going on and things like that. I don't know. It's all that's on my mind right now, which is a little hard for work. Sorry if you hear Rose crying. She's very sad for us not playing with her right now. It's okay. We'll go outside soon. I know, I said a word you know. Okay. I digress. One of the things that is kind of interesting about speedrunning, in my opinion, at least, is that depending on the game that you're playing, you don't have to necessarily... Shh. Dog crying. You don't necessarily have to learn a bunch of glitches and ways to I don't want to say cheat the game, but play the game in a way that's not really intended. One of the games from this, let me shake a bit. Okay, I think she's good now. Probably not with crying, but we'll see what she does next. But one of the games that kind of showcased that you don't have to do the game in order to be fast or to be the fastest. You don't have to break the game. There are a number of categories like that. We'll back up. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. But one of the games that showcase that right now, one, because it's a fairly new game, and two, because it's really just going through rooms and beating things up, is Hades, the game that I just finished watching a run for. And really just all the commentators in the runner even were saying it's a lot of this game is just playing the game really fast, but still as intended. Just knowing what you're looking for, finding it, and just running with it. And it's kind of cool just seeing that too. Like when I first watched speedruns, it was still like, oh wow, they played this game really fast or really interestingly, but not like going out of bounds or just completely destroying the game in some really obscure way. Sometimes one of the more inspiring ways that you can watch a game be played is just really well. Like when I think of like going back to or like watching somebody play a game that I played a long time ago and that gave me a hard time, like sure, it's really neat to see something be totally glitched out and you're just bending the game to your will, not because of your like ability to play within the within the restrictions that the game defines for you, but by breaking those restrictions and going outside of them. But by playing the game really well in the way that it was intended to be played can be pretty interesting too. It's just a matter of saying, it's like, oh wow, I remember that giving me a really hard time. But when you see somebody who's like super duper skilled at this just totally destroy it well within the intended rules of the game, that's really entertaining to watch too. That's what I love about like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. It's watching these people just destroy that game. You don't really skip fights or glitch out or go out of bounds. It's just knowing that game so well that you can beat these, all of them are bosses essentially, just a boss rush of boxing matches, and you just watch them just blow through it, and it's just like, I want to be that good. And like certainly love watching games being broken, and that can be a certain kind of inspiring, but it's certainly not the same kind of like thing that just like inspires nostalgia. Like you see that and you're like, I remember that was really hard, I bet they're gonna have a hard time too, and then they just like they just no sweat, able to take care of it, no problem, is a really neat sensation when it's coming from a viewership perspective. And there are a lot of games that have categories similar to that. Whenever you see something like NMG on the end of a run name, that stands for no major glitches. You don't break the game in a way that makes it play in an unintended way. You're still trying to beat the game really fast, but within the realm of how the developers expected you to do that. So like going through Pokemon really fast or any kind of RPG really fast can it just looks really cool when you're having to go through everything and just like actually going through that adventure really, really fast. And then you see something that's like, you can beat the game in like 4 seconds because you can get the game to load in a state where you leave your home and you are in the Hall of Fame, and that's it. But like there's a certain amount of skill that goes in that. I definitely don't want to say it's not skillful. Finding and executing a trick like that often requires a lot of skill. But when you're preparing yourself to see a run like that to watch, you're like, oh, I can't wait to see this game get destroyed. And then it's like you kind of get the rug pulled out from under you. You didn't see the game get destroyed. You saw the game get manipulated into a state that looks like you won. That'll be why one of the last runs here for this marathon will be kind of interesting, which is I think Pokemon Blue Catch 'em All, which is you just catch all of the Pokemon that are in the original Pokemon Blue game, and when you're done, you're done. I think they might have to beat the Elite Four on top of that. It's been a long time since I've seen those rules. I watched one Catch 'em All run a few years ago, and I can't remember if it was over when you catch the last Pokemon or if you have to have beaten the Elite Four too. But nonetheless, it's like that going out there to catch everything is in some ways how people consider they've beaten a Pokemon game. It's not always, I have to be the strongest trainer, I want to collect them all. And then seeing somebody go through that and finding the most optimal way to do that can be entertaining too, especially knowing some of the ins and outs of how some of the Pokemon evolve or where you can find certain ones. It can be a bit of a joy to watch. Some of the later ones like are like really gimmicky. Um, yeah, not to get in like a bunch of examples, but I know like one is like Malamar. I think it's Malamar. Can't remember its name. I'm pretty sure that's what the evolved form is. Inkay is the unevolved form, and after it learns a certain move, you just flip your system upside down, and that'll trigger the evolution. It's just an upside down version of that Pokemon, so you just have to flip it over. It took us forever to get that to work on Switch, by the way. Like it did not want to cooperate. I think we ended up getting that one in the Pokedex by getting it in a trade. It took entirely. I didn't say it took entirely too long. It never happened where that mechanic worked, but it was kind of interesting and gimmicky. But having to go through a collect 'em all where you have to do or remember certain things like that might be an interesting thing to bake into it. Like the original 150, it's very much just go out there and find them. Some of them you can only get through trades from other versions of the game, and some of them are like special evolutions where it's just like you have to use a stone instead of levels. But it wasn't until I think 2nd gen where happiness was like was a factor in evolution. So it shouldn't be that crazy where you're having to build up a lot of happiness over the course of like gameplay. But I digress. I guess kind of the point I'm making there is like, if there's a way that you want to play a game in an impressive way that can be done fast and skillfully, that a speedrunning community can be a way that you can do that with a game. It doesn't necessarily always have to be like, oh, well, I can't do frame perfect tricks, or I don't want to break the game in any certain way. If there's a game that you enjoy, chances are if it's been around for a while, or even if like the game is like new, like usually it's over time that you get like glitch riddled runs. At the start, it's just how can I beat the game as intended really fast, and then as time goes on, people find like ways to break the game and ways to progress faster. But usually, what comes of that is as the game gets further and further from intended, in order to keep that original run alive, that's when you usually see that no major glitches start coming into play, where it's, well, this community was built on just running the game as originally intended, just really fast. We want to keep these runs around and these timings to stick around. So that category usually organically comes out of communities that have a love for how the game was intended to be played, just at a really high skill level. So I guess this might just be a whole week full of just talking about games and speedrunning, but honestly, it's a fantastic thing to get into. I super enjoyed the little bit that I was doing, and just viewing it is interesting. If it is something you want to get into, you don't have to find a game where you're having to break everything all over the place and have to understand why the game breaks, or looking for certain tells in how the game is acting to know that you can do a certain thing. In many ways, in many of the cases for the games out there, there are run categories where you can play a game in a way that you want to. And if you're around in a community long enough and there's a way you want to play the game, if you're there for a while and you can pitch that, it's pretty open. Like, people do want to keep that stuff under control, so people aren't just making random categories all the time so they can have world records all over the place. But they're pretty open to well thought out ways to play games that is, one, engaging to play, and two, engaging to view. So yeah, I guess the point there is, if you ever felt like getting into that, or you enjoy viewing some of this stuff, know that it doesn't always have to be like game breaking. You could just do the game really well, really fast, in a way that's fun to play and fun to watch. So I think we'll call it at that. Talked probably a bit longer than I anticipated, actually, on the topic. But won't see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday, per usual. Will not be around there. But I should be back. No holidays on Thursday, Friday, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, we'll probably see you on Thursday. So have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, whatever little bit of it's left, and a fantastic Wednesday. And we'll catch you later. See ya.